So guys, before we start off today's video, obviously woke up to the very sad news that Sir Stirling Moss has passed away at the age of 90.
Probably one of the best F1 drivers not to win the F1 World Championships. Was truly a great racer.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's just something that's kind of shook the F1 world, and I was debating on which of the F1 legacies to do next, so it seems fitting in terms of the timing. Tomorrow we'll be taking a look back at the great career of Sir Stirling Moss and the legacy that he left on Formula One, because he was a true racing great. But for now, into today's video. Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back. It's race day. It's on a Sunday,
oh, yeah.
Which means that it is time for another classic race review, and we have just finished rewatching the 1982 US Grand Prix. Well, I say the US Grand Prix as if it was the only one that season. It was actually the only time in an F1 season that there were 3 American Grand Prix. Long Beach, which I believe was the long-standing one on at the time, was number 1, which is this race we're reviewing. Then there was the inaugural Detroit race that was coming later on in the season, before the season finale in Las Vegas to come to, you know, round off.
3 races, that's crazy, in one country. Jeez.
Yeah, it is crazy, but I suppose we always think, because Europe has loads of races scattered around, but the US is a massive landmass.
Yeah.
So, you know, theoretically, to kind of think 3 races in that, the previous rounds had been in Brazil and South Africa. So, yeah.
Of course, you had those Ford engines, so there was huge interest in F1, I presume, in the American market.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously Mario Andretti, who, funnily enough, we'll do that. We'll wrap up a few things pre-race before we actually go getting into race. But yeah, Mario Andretti, the 1978 Formula One World Champion, and obviously went on to win 4 IndyCar titles as well. Well, Carlos Reutemann, who was driving for Williams, had shock announced 5 days before the race that he was retiring.
Yeah, two races into the season, was it?
Yes, it was 2 races into the season.
Just was like, yeah, I've had enough.
I think, you know, narrowly missing out on the 1981 World Championship, which Nelson Piquet won his first Formula One World Championship in the Brabham. But yeah, he shot retired. So they first of all asked another former Williams driver, Alan Jones, to kind of take up the seat. Alan said no. They then went to another, obviously, Formula One World Champion in Mario Andretti. He was like, doesn't clash my IndyCar thing, so I was like, why not?
Sure.
Got nothing else. How amazing that is, to kind of just be sitting and be like going, Mario, do you want to race in an F1 race? Yeah, I got nothing else on. Might as well. What else am I going to do with my Sunday? Of course I'll race. For there. So Mario Andretti was starting in the Williams, and he started in 14th actually, alongside fellow American Cheever 13th, because they had struggled in qualifying. But qualifying, the main one was, well, Niki Lauda had been quickest in practice. He had just made his return to Formula One in 1982 after early retirement from the sport for 2 years, but he wanted to be back.
Yeah.
Niki wanted back in the sport.
He tried with his planes, but it just wasn't F1.
No, nothing is quite like F1, and you know, he still felt like he had it. A 2-time world champion at that stage of his career. He was like, I've still got this. I've got the excitement. So he was racing for Marlboro McLaren, but in practice, he had been quickest. But Andrea de Caseris,
the shock
in the Alfa Romeo, making Alfa great again. He made Alfa great again before it was a thing, no, but he put the Alfa Romeo on pole position, and that made him, at the time, the youngest driver to ever claim a pole position within Formula One. And it would actually turn out to be his only pole position of his career, but that will come with later on in the race. But yes, his record for youngest was taken by Rubens Barrichello in 1994, but it's an interesting, fun one, I think, to have on that stat. But we are here, we're at race day. It looks great. You know, the formation lap has come in, and just before I let Stephen take over and explain the start of the race, just going to give you a slight note. So, the formation lap is coming, and I'll read it for you here. Sunday was clear, warm, and gorgeous with a crowd of 82,000. Good crowd.
Yeah, very good crowd.
Grand Prix. As the cars formed on the grid for the start, Lotus driver Elio de Angelis, another Italian, so we've had two Italians focusing there, lined up on the wrong side. He claimed he had waved into the wrong place. He quickly backed out of the spot, bumping into teammate Nigel Mansell.
Nigel!
Remember Nigel from last week?
Much younger version of Nigel, though.
Well,
10 years younger.
10 years younger, yes. But yeah, younger version of Nigel. When Mansell put his car into reverse, thinking that De Angelis was coming back further, the green light came on to start the race. So he claims that he is the only driver who has started a race in reverse.
Pretty impressive.
Very impressive. But yes, he found himself near the back of the field, surprisingly not. And De Caseris made an excellent start.
Yeah. So Arnoux in the Renault also gets a great start, overtakes Lauda into second, Lauda keeps third, and then in the Alfa Romeo, Giacomelli in fourth. Makes the front four at the start of the race. I think Prost was fifth.
I think Prost was fifth running at that time, in the other Renault.
He didn't have a particularly flying start. But
no, he was leading the World Championship at that stage as well.
13 points.
Yes, he was. But yeah, that carried on with the kind of the start of the race, and the early part of the race was probably dictated by Lauda being quite up on Arnoux, and Giacomelli being involved in that battle as well, being right on the tail.
First battle of the race, I would say.
It was.
Arnoux, probably in the slower Renault, I think it's fair to say, was doing a great defensive performance against Lauda. Lauda was pressuring him for quite a few laps. And then, Giacomelli, thought he'd get involved as well.
Well, this was a funny one because it looked like he was overtaking Lauda, but then just got very greedy.
Yeah, trying to go for the double overtake of the same corner.
Yeah, and so he'd overtaken Lauda, and then he was going, and then he broke, front right locked up, and then just went straight in the back of poor Renault. And obviously the front of Giacomelli's car was no more.
No.
That was his race over, and René Arnoux just got shunted into the wall, and I think both his left side tyres got bumped into the wall, and that was his race down. But then Lauda set off in pursuit of race leader De Caseris. Yes.
He would actually be quite a lead at this point, because Arnoux was holding up Lauda for quite a few laps.
Yeah, he was. He had a good start, and I think that Murray Walker and James Hunt commentary were going. Obviously, he was with McLaren. He was, dropped at the end of last season. There was talk of dropping him halfway because he just couldn't finish. What a performance by the young guy here, and they were bigging it up. Lauda had come up and was just flying round, which I think will become a common theme of this Grand Prix, and he was able to catch De Caseris. And then he came up to, unfortunately, as De Caseris was defending Lauda and doing a rather good job at it at the time. And they came up to the back marker. It is Raoul Bassel's March car that they had, and unfortunately he held it up, and James Hunt was like, he did not get out the way. Very unsporting.
We had a bit of classic James Hunt commentary throughout this race, just ripping into any driver that made a mistake.
really wasn't good.
Yes.
But yeah, so Lauda was able to take advantage of this, and as soon as he got past de Caseris, he didn't really look back. He just started flying, and de Caseris then just kind of fell back to kind of securing second position. But meanwhile, while that was happening, what was going on, Stephen?
Meanwhile, championship leader Prost had retired. We're not really sure. I think it was mechanical error or something like that.
The official, looking back on it, it was said that he spun off, but watching it
was a bit of classic races where you just get a quick pan of the car where it just stopped or going down the side and you go, oh, they're gone. It's a bit like Monaco. We had a few of those shots this race. But yes, Prost had retired, leaving the championship door open, I guess, because he was in a fairly commanding lead. But anyway, John Watson, the British driver, overtook Villeneuve into third, and then what pursued was the battle for fourth between Villeneuve and Rosberg. And I should say, on Villeneuve, driving in the Ferrari, they'd come up with a quite a clever loophole, or we're not really sure if it was clever, but yes.
Well, he got disqualified post-race.
Yes.
So technically not clever.
Not clever, and it wasn't clever in terms of speed either, we don't really think.
No, it didn't look the best of ideas. But what was brilliant about this race, and going back and watching these older races, because, you know, obviously F1 Classic race yesterday, a great race 2019 one, so don't get me wrong, it's not a classic race yet though, it was only last year. You've got 70 years of history, what you're doing? So we're in 1982 watching here, Gilles Villeneuve in the Ferrari, and Lauda's McLaren had no front wing.
No.
So there were a few cars with no front wings, and in the rules, it was getting to that stage where more and more rules were kind of being implemented to kind of like fix things up. Your rear wing was only allowed to be a certain width. Ferrari took that, and they were like, well, it says nothing about multiple rear wings.
It says only one wing should be this length. But what if you have two of them?
It then actually makes it wider. But as you saw it going around the circuit, not sure how much it was. I mean, a lot at this stage, the car's downforce was generated by ground effect.
Yes.
So a lot of the airflow was directed from underneath the car. But yeah, it just had this kind of flappy two rear wings.
Wobbly.
Yeah. But anyway, Keke Rosberg and Villeneuve were fighting.
Yes, the battle for fourth. Rosberg. See, who had I think the Ferrari had the better power unit, wasn't it? But Rosberg in the Williams, that was it. Basically had the better car, better chassis, better car. So he was making great gains on the corners.
I think that was another bit of James Hunt classic commentary. It's just like,
yes.
Ferrari aren't very good at making chassis. It's like, oh, jeez.
But yes, he was also bigging up Villeneuve, saying he's very good on getting on the power and defending his position. And just as he said that, Villeneuve ran wide out of the exit of a corner, didn't really get on the power, and Rosberg just swept past. Meaning Hunt had to instantly go,
Well, it's made me look like an idiot there. That was brilliant. We will leave the kind of link. This was another full race that you can get on YouTube, so we'll leave the link to this race in the description because, one of the funny things is you had the brilliant kind of commentary of Walker and James Hunt. Then there was some kind of interjections of Alan Jones somewhere. Then there was some American commentary somewhere, but it was actually a Japanese feed because all the drivers' names were up in Japanese.
Yeah,
and
it was a real mashup.
And there was some Japanese commentary at some point, and there was literally just one bit where it was just like a guy talking in Japanese, and his co-commentator would all just say, "Hi, hi,
hi."
he would then say, and we were like, right, this is bizarre. We've no thing.
I'm sure we had about 4 or 5 different commentary teams throughout the race.
Indeed, but Villeneuve did manage to kind of re-overtake.
Yeah.
We will get to the end of this battle, but then Rosberg got him on the other one, and then it looked like Villeneuve was going to get. He was like, "I've lost Villeneuve. Where's he gone?" He's dropped right back, and then he was like right on the tail, and then went for a very bold overtake.
Yes, he tried to outbrake Rosberg and just went spinning round.
Yeah,
basically.
but then it was
Managed to regain it and didn't lose position there.
yeah.
Well-
I mean, yeah. For current world champion Nelson Piquet in his Brabham was right behind him after that. But yeah, it was quite funny the pull away. He just kind of stopped, and then it seemed like a real frustrated. He just kind of like his back. He clearly just floored it because the back end just went poof, and then firing off as Piquet was on his back tail like, God damn it! But that is the character of Gilles Villeneuve. He was a very on the limit driver, and James Hunt very complimentary of his driving skill. It was like going, many drivers would have just lost it, but his car control, he managed to keep it going in some form of. I mean, it was still facing the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
He just power slided a little bit wider in the corner on the marbles.
Yes.
But that was kind of the main battle. I suppose Keke then went up to kind of John Watson, and there was a battle for third, I think, for a bit there, and we'll probably come back to that one. But as we approached halfway, I believe at the start of this that there was 26 cars competing in it, so a lot of cars there. But what happened, Stephen?
Well, what ensued was the war of attrition, I think it's fair to say. Like I mentioned earlier, we started to get a lot of panning shots to cars just stopping. Either going into a wall, just stopping because we had no idea. Yeah, basically. We could list them off, but it's quite a long list for about like a 10-15 lap period.
I mean, I think the commentary from James Hunt, it was literally like, I've lost count of how many cars have retired in the last kind of 5
It was
laps.
like they were dropping like 9 pins or something.
Yeah, dropping like 9 pins.
We've got 10 pins, but for James it's 9 pins.
Clearly, in terms of that. But it was crazy, and probably not the highlight, but to show how much safety has come on and how kind of blasé kind of health and safety was. Well, funnily enough, I think Murray Walker had said that the recovery of vehicles had got so good at this stage.
Yes.
And at that stage,
I think it was James Hunt again. I think it was another one of his contradictions where he made the comment and then the race instantly contradicted him.
he like panned a shot to Riccardo Patrese's car, just kind of. So yes, no, not Riccardo Patrese. Nelson Piquet had in his Brabham had crashed into the wall at this stage. One of the retirees at this, but then a pickup truck, I believe, I think it was Piquet's that was caused the whole drama. It basically just parked itself on the racing line, and so manically yellow flags are kind of going, and drivers are coming round a blind corner and just seeing.
It was right on the corner as well. So as soon as you turn, you just see this. First, you have a car in your way, and then you have this massive recovery truck.
I think they followed Keke and how he kind of handled it for a large majority of it. It was just weaving.
Yeah, I think there was also another car had stopped the other side of the road just a bit further up.
Yeah, I don't know why a safety car wasn't. I don't know actually. I don't know when safety cars were introduced, but I'm shocked that a safety car wasn't introduced at this stage. But
well, they said the FIA had an air traffic control tower. Maybe they were too busy looking at the planes rather than what was happening on the track.
Yeah. It was
so bizarre.
It opened yourself up to a whole different world in terms of what F1 is today. Obviously, F1 is more of a kind of slick, well-oiled, kind of well-produced thing. The carnage and the chaos and the amazing bits of commentary of literally going, we didn't see that, so we don't know what happened. But basically, we got to halfway, and 16 cars have retired by that stage, including one who hadn't retired, though, was Riccardo Patrese, who we saw spin, lost half a front wing, but I think it was going, the front wings don't really do much for kind of, they're a little bit there for stabilisation, so he'll just carry on with that. And so he literally drove the rest of the race with half a front wing.
Yeah. fair enough.
He was in the other Brabham, and from there, and they were bigging up De Caseris, going, it's been such a mature. He's done better than anyone expected to under great pressure.
Here comes James. Whatever happens in this race, it'll be a great result for him.
Apart from if he crashes into the wall. And is like, and it's happened again. He can't finish a race.
He tried to cover it. So this is still a great race for him.
He's done better than expected.
James, he's crashed into a wall. The one thing you said he was known for, but you're trying to big him up and say he's corrected that. He's just crashed into a wall.
Poor De Caseris.
Under no pressure, he was firmly in second. Watson wasn't really making too much ground on him.
No.
He could have easily defended that position.
Watson and Rosberg, I believe, were catching, but they were fighting each other.
Yeah.
Lauda was in front. He was in second, and a podium for the Alpha would have been a great result in this one.
Very good
Nobody
result.
expected him to kind of get the pole position. Unfortunately, he crashed.
Yeah.
But John Watson, who I believe had made great ground at the start to claim third position, had then had to pit for fresh tyres and came out a lap down. I mean, the pit stops were brilliant to watch because obviously we're so used to the kind of slick
2 seconds
straight on in terms of tyre pits. Obviously, there were previous ones of refuelling, so it was a little longer, but still within that was very slick kind of things. This was kind of manic, kind of frantic, putting wheels on, and it was like going, he's been in there for 15 seconds.
What a great time!
Like, what? What do you mean, what a great time? But pit stops weren't, I don't believe, necessities at this stage, because Lauda never pitted during the race.
There's only if you messed up your tyres or something.
Yeah, only if you needed, and Lauda had held back a fresh set of hards because they were the better compound, and so he hadn't used that in his last session of practice, and he kept those for the race, so that probably benefited there. But anyway, Lauda at this stage is now, on Long Beach, it's a kind of street race circuit.
Very wide though.
Very wide.
Yeah, very wide bits and also quite narrow bits.
Yeah. But anyway, the kind of pressure, there aren't really any runoff areas on a street circuit.
No.
If you do make a mistake and bin it in the wall, then your race is over pretty much. There isn't anything to carry on and push you from there. But Lauda was just absolutely cruising it. He was flying. He was just building this lead further and further up. Sometimes he would let it drop a little bit. There were very weird stages of the race where he was just lapping cars, but then they were unlapping themselves, almost for the pride of, I don't want to be a lap now.
I think he was lapping the cars, and then they were like, Lauda, you're like 5 seconds ahead now. Calm down.
Chill out, just see the car home. The war of attrition kind of carried on, and Patrese had flown through the field and managed to work his way up to 4th position, getting past 5th position Alboreto at this stage in the Tyrrell. And he was the one that you kind of followed most of the end, because there was literally just this little kind of racing fighting between him and Lauda, and it was like, this is for no positions there. And it was very strange in there. Mansell worked his way up to 7th position.
Just by surviving, basically.
It literally had. Keke was absolutely cruising. I think at stages was taking chunks out of Lauda's lead, but I think Williams were very much, you're not going to win this race, and if you finish second, you would take lead of the championship.
Yeah.
And Gilles Villeneuve had recovered from spins, and with Watson flying all the way back, I think Watson actually finished up in 8th in the end position after
that bizarre pit stop. We never really knew. We just knew he finished, came out a lap behind everyone, and we're like, okay.
That's the beauty, I think, of watching these older races, because there is a certain carnage and chaos to it. That was my mix of a word between carnage and chaos. But it didn't help probably with the kind of mixing, matching and switching between commentary, having random bursts of kind of Japanese and the American guys coming in as well.
Yeah, mispronouncing names left, right and centre.
Yeah, my favourite was Gilles Villeneuve turned into Gilles Villeneuve. It was like, oh, is he
new driver to the grid?
who's this guy driving there?
He's in a Ferrari. Oh, wait, no, that's Villeneuve.
No, that's Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Oh God, here we go. Yeah, it was just, and then obviously I think the end of the race kind of fizzled out, but it was just, I think the highlight of it was, you know, Lauda. It was 3 races back into his return after 2 years out the car. Yes, he had tested McLaren, but you know that Lauda is one of the all-time greats of Formula 1. He was just such a fantastic driver. Obviously at that stage was a 2-time world champion, and I think many eyes were probably on his return.
Yeah.
And he was basically flying around, absolutely dominated. For as soon as he got past de Caseris, he never looked back, and you know, dominated the street circuit, controlled the race, absolutely perfect. And yeah, in only his 3rd race back, he was able to win the race.
Yeah, great, just a great drive from him. Not a foot wrong.
I think Keke Rosberg actually himself drove a very good race in the Williams.
Yep.
But yeah, they just couldn't keep up with it, and it was a mix really, in terms of it was a fantastic race to kind of watch the brilliance of Lauda, of just kind of a all-season dominance. There were the kind of battles within, and there was some kind of exciting. It was the mix of seeing those kind of different retro-looking cars, they kind of almost box-like.
Yeah.
They were, and all the different designs. It was nice seeing you know, how cars different. The classic Lotus black and gold livery.
Yeah. Didn't see much of it there in the race.
No, D'Angelo only finished 2nd. Sorry, not second. only finished 2nd. Only finished
somehow
6th. Only 6th I finished.
He finished. That's a good achievement.
He did all right in that, but that's pretty much it on the kind of US Grand Prix. But to round off, we'll run you through what kind of happened at the end of the race, how it finished. So obviously we said there Niki Lauda was the race winner. Keke Rosberg came in 2nd, and to complete the podium was Riccardo Patrese, after Gilles Villeneuve had been disqualified for that double rear wing that Tyrrell protested pre-race. It was kind of held up there. Michele Alboreto in the Tyrrell was then obviously promoted to 4th. Elio de Angelis was in 5th in that Lotus, classic black and gold livery. And John Watson actually managed to get up into 6th and claim a championship point for McLaren. Coming in there. Mansell was 7th. Jochen Mass was 8th. Raul Boesel, who obviously had cost de Caseris the lead, very unhappy with him. And the last classified finisher was Slim Bogud from Sweden. No idea if I said that right.
You gave it a good shout.
I thought so. Shields disqualified, and then we're going to go through the retirees.
Here we go.
Of his list. Eddie Cheever, the American driver, retired. Andrea de Caseris went out. Brian Henton out. Roberto Guerrero. Jacques Lafitte. He's French. Lafitte probably works. Jean-Pierre Jarier retired. Oh, this is just a fun end to the kind of video to kind of get me going through names. I'm terrible.
Look, you brought on yourself.
I did. I could have just left it, but we went from this. Derek Daly, who was part of, you know, if you watch our track comparison video of one of my highlights of Monaco was the 1982 Monaco Grand Prix, where the race that nobody wanted to finish, he was leading for a short while, and funnily enough spun off in this one and spun off in that one as well. Mario Andretti returning, and in the commentary they were very excited that Williams were desperate to try and get him to drive for a...
Although that was the American, when we swapped over to the American commentary.
Yeah, it was. For as many races as he can, 42 at this stage of his career, as many races as he can without clashing with IndyCar commitments. Alain Prost retired. Didier Pironi in the other Ferrari retired early on. He had a problem with his drive shaft, the brakes weren't working properly. René Arnoux, and it seemed a very long time ago when Bruno Giacomelli and René Arnoux had come together. And then, no idea these guys were in the race because it wasn't mentioned.
He's got a quick fan of their car, maybe.
Alessio Salazar and Manfred Winkelhock in the both ATS Fords have collided. I don't know if they collided together, but they were the first retirees. But even more amazing to this, apparently you could not qualify for the race back then. So we had Teo Fabi, Riccardo Paletti, Chico Serra and Mauro Abaldi didn't qualify.
Okay.
Didn't qualify for the race.
Fair enough.
But yeah, and after the race, we had Keke Rosberg was it said Alain Prost was leading, but we know.
Yes.
Keke took the lead. Alain Prost was in second place, and Niki Lauda had moved up into third position in the championship. But cool, that was it. That was another classic race review. I know we obviously said that we were going to do the 1994, but we were like, we done 3 races in the 90s. Why not go back a bit further? And this one was, neither of us had ever watched this one before, and yeah, it was nice to watch Niki Lauda.
Yeah, that was probably the highlight, just Niki dominating.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, his first win back after his retirement was a pretty impressive drive to watch. But guys, comment down below if you haven't. We obviously highly recommend you watching that race, and like I said, will be in the link. The link will be in the description below. And if they're new around here, or if they haven't done so already, Stephen, what can they do?
They can like, they can subscribe, and they can ding that bell.
And that will keep you up to date with all our latest content. But remember, every Sunday through this Corona break, we will be with another classic race review. Not sure what we're going to do yet. Might do 1989 Suzuka, Prost versus Senna.
Yeah.
We might do 2000 Mika Hakkinen versus Schumacher. I think that might be the order we go. We might go 89 and then 2000 to bring it back up to a more modern one, and then after that I'll see if I can even find something from the 1970s and see if there's a good race kind of being uploaded in the dark depths of YouTube from there. But yeah guys, we hope you've enjoyed it. But yeah, that's another classic race review, and make sure you obviously tune in tomorrow when we will be doing that Sterling Moss F1 Legacies video. A very sad day, I think, for motorsport with his passing today. But yeah, rest in peace to Sterling Moss. But for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.